Now we will discuss workmen compensation reserve in the chapter dissolution. We discussed this item in one question, that is illustration 23. We did not work it out, but I had explained this WCR there. If there is no claim, as usual you can distribute it among partners. If there is claim, there are certain differences from previous chapters. So, we will discuss that, but before that we will discuss one illustration, that is, we will not be doing the entire question, but we will discuss some new adjustments. New adjustments means only the calculations are new. So, illustration 19, you must do it in your notebook. I am not doing it. The new transactions I will explain. Then we will discuss workmen compensation. So, illustration 19. Yes, you are asked to do realization, capital account and cash account. So, 3 you have to do. While you do realization, see, your normal tendency or normal habit is start from the balance sheet. That is realization account you will do. Even if I ask you to read each and every word of your question, normally you won't do that. The problem here is, see the first paragraph, that Prashant and Rajesh were partners, illustration 19, okay. Their ratio is given, then in spite of repeated reminders by the authorities, they kept dumping hazardous material. They have given one story there. Then the court ordered for dissolution. Then the next sentence is very much important. Prashant was deputed to realize the assets and to pay the liabilities, and he was paid 1000 as commission. He was paid remuneration for realization expense, not for realization expenses, for realizing the assets and to settle the liabilities. He has given a remuneration by the firm. So, what is the journal entry when you pay, when your firm pay remuneration to the partner? You must write realization debtor to partner's capital. This entry you will write only if you read that sentence. So, that is why I am asking you to read each and every word of your question carefully. Do not simply start from the balance sheet. Usually before the balance sheet they will write just the ratio. But in certain other questions it would be like this. So, always read each and every word of your question. And what is the posting of this? Realization debtor to partner. Which partner is that? Prashant, no? Yes, to Prashant's capital. That is how you have to post that. Then, balance sheet, liability side, did you see Rajesh's loan? He is the partner. Partner's loan, what is the journal entry? Partner's loan account debtor to cash or bank. And in this question, we are not doing partner's loan account specifically. But even then, in your cash account, you remember I had asked you to check the partner's loan always. So, that partner's loan must come in cash account. Here we haven't prepared loan account. We are not doing loan account. It is not asked in the question. Then, adjustment 7, realization expenses to 500, nothing is mentioned. So, who will pay? The firm will pay. Entry is realization debtor to cash or bank. Then, fifth one, bills receivable was settled at a loss of 1400. Bills receivable means something which we have to get. It was settled means you are not paying. Receivable means it is something which you are getting. The sentence is actually realized bills receivable. That is the meaning of that sentence. And how much did we realize? Bills receivable actual amount is 37,400. Did we realize entire 37,400? When you write by bank in your realization, can we write 37,400? No. We realized only the balance because it is settled at a loss means we got only the balance figure. So, 37,400 minus 1,400, we got only 36,000. Then adjustment 5, that is very much important. Creditors were payable after 2 months. They were paid immediately. That means right now we are paying them. So, we got a discount of 10%. Just like this transaction, we had discussed one transaction before, that is in illustration number 17. Creditors and bills payable were settled at a discount of 6% per annum. You remember that? But there is a difference, like it was written in that question 6% per annum, whereas in this question it is just written 10%. There is difference between these two. When they say like 6% per annum, this is for 1 full year. So there we considered the time period. You remember we did only for 1 month because 6% was for 1 full year. We are getting discount only for 1 month in that question. So we considered 1 by 12 there. Whereas in this question, it is not written per annum. That means this 10% will be for 2 months. Here we paid 2 months in advance. We got a discount of 10%, but this is not for 1 year. This is just for those 2 months. So no need to consider time period here. What you have to do is, creditors amount is 80,000. 80,000 into 10%. So that is 8,000. Discount amount is 8,000. You will deduct 8,000 from this 80,000, and what you paid creditor is 72,000. We are not considering the period here. Just compute 10% on this because it is not written per annum. So these two cases are entirely different. The calculation differs here. So do it carefully. So that's all about that question. That you must work it out. Illustration 19 you must do. Don't simply copy from your textbook. I know that it is illustration, but you should practice it. That's why I am asking you to do. Don't simply copy. Next we'll discuss that workmen compensation reserve. Actually that is the first portion of this chapter. Since we have already discussed this, I kept it for last. So it is workmen compensation reserve. We'll work out illustration number 4 so that you will understand the difference. Illustration 4. Okay, journal entry question. So you draw the format of journal. The first case, workmen compensation reserve in the balance sheet is 75,000 and there is no claim. Nothing is mentioned like claim. So what will you do? Distribute entire workmen compensation among old partners. Here we have only partners. We need not mention them old and new. We don't have any old partner and new partner. You just distribute it among all the partners. So X capital account and Y's capital account. The division in the ratio 3:2, so 45 and 30. So when there is no claim, this is how you have to do. Write the narration, workmen compensation reserve, distribute it. Second one, workmen compensation reserve 60, claim is 35. So what will you do? The claim you will meet from reserve and the balance will be given to partners. The entry will be like this. Workmen compensation reserve account debtor. What is reserve balance? It is 60,000. Then the liability figure you must transfer to the account called realization. Whereas in previous chapters we had written it as to provision for workmen compensation claim. That is how we transferred the liability. Here we can't do that because we can't open any new accounts like provision account. Already we have closed everything. This is the time of dissolution. Only one account we have now, that is realization account. So you transfer that liability to realization. The liability here is 35,000. What should we do with balance? That must be distributed among partners in their given ratio. So you just distribute it. This is how you have to write in this chapter. So the balance 25 you will distribute in the ratio and you will get 15 and 10. You can write claim met and the balance distributed among partners. Now second transaction is not over. At the time of dissolution, after you transfer workmen compensation reserve like this, this is the time of dissolution, that's the time of winding up. We have to settle all liabilities. Shouldn't we settle all liabilities? Here we have a liability of 35. From where did we take the amount for that? From your reserve balance we took. Now shouldn't we pay it off? So that paying off entry also we have to write. Though it is not specifically asked, when you take amount, you have to pay it off the liability at the time of dissolution, not in previous chapters. So now we have to pay off liability. So that entry will be, when you pay off a liability, what's the entry? When you pay off means the firm is paying off. So realization debtor to cash or bank. How much we have to pay? The liability is 35,000. So you can write liability of 35,000 paid. Understood? So remember, at the time of dissolution, this entry also must be written, the payment entry, since it is the time of winding up. You have to settle everything. Yes, third transaction. Workman compensation reserve is 60, liability is more than that. So we will see that situation. Third situation, workman compensation reserve. It is 60,000. Then, if it was the previous chapter, you will write like this, that is to provision for claim, and you will write the entire amount of claim 75 given in the question. Then if the shortage is on debit side, you will open a new account like revaluation account. If the shortage is on credit side, you can distribute to partners, just like in this chapter. If the shortage was on debit side, what did we do? Revaluation we opened. But can we do all these in this chapter? We are winding up now. We can't open any new accounts like revaluation and all. So what you can do is, from reserve balance, what we can meet as liability is just 60. Though the actual amount is 75, you can meet only 60. So you will transfer only 60 to realization. In previous chapter, we could write revaluation, debtor, the balance we can write there. So there you will write the entire liability amount. Here we can't do that. Only reserve balance is 60. We can transfer only 60 to realization. Then paying off entry also we have to write. Liability we have to pay. So the entry is realization account debtor to cash or bank. Realization debtor to cash or bank. How much will you write? The total amount of liability in this question is 75. We can take only 60 from reserve that we already wrote. Now when you pay off your liability, are you going to pay only 60? No, you must pay off the entire liability 75. For this, 60,000 will be taken from your reserve balance. What about the balance 15? That the firm will have to bear themselves. Clear? Reserve balance is only 60 that we can take. Rest 15 your firm will have to bear. And when you pay off, it must be the entire amount. And this is how you have to write the entry. Then fourth transaction. Workman compensation and liability is same. So it's easy. Workman compensation reserve debtor 60 to realization also we can write 60. Now the paying off entry also you must write, that you must remember. Paying off entry will be realization account debtor to cash or bank, and you have to pay off the entire amount 60. Entire amount you can take from reserve balance. Then the final transaction, that is transaction number 5. There is no reserve balance. Reserve balance is nil. Liability is there. Should be paid off. Of course you have to pay. If your liability is there for 15, the firm will have to settle it, though you don't have any reserve balance. So the first entry is not needed. There is no reserve. But you have to pay it from your own account. You means the firm. So realization debtor to cash or bank. What's the amount of liability here? 15,000. Understood? This is how we have to do workman compensation reserve in this chapter. We discussed all type of questions. All type of questions means different cases of workmen compensation reserve we covered in this particular question. Next, there is one more topic in this chapter. With that, chapter is over. The dissolution chapter will get over. The topic is, normally it is not asked for exam. That is debit balance of, you give the heading, debit balance of partners capital account. You take page number 8.33. There you have this heading, debit balance of partners capital account. Yes, 3 cases are given there. You are asked to write journal entries. We will read that. Loan by Amit. Loan by Amit means he has given. It is your firm's liability to pay that. It is 50,000. Balance in his capital account, that is credit balance, 25,000. 25 or 35? It's 25. Okay. So, he has given a loan to the firm for rupees 50,000. Partner's loan, what is the settlement entry or how will you treat partner's loan? Anyways, we can't close it to realization because it is internal in nature. So, what's the journal entry for settling partner's loan? Case A, the entry will be, what's the name of that partner? Amit. So, Amit's loan account, debtor to cash or bank, 50,000 you can write. This is how we are writing the settlement entry. Now, there is one more item given, that partner's capital account is having a credit balance. What do you mean by partner's capital having a credit balance? Normally, partner's capital will have a credit balance. What's the meaning of that? We have to pay this amount back to the partner on a later date. At the time of winding up, you will have to pay all this. This is also the amount you have to pay. Can we set off these two? Can we cancel these two? No, because both are amounts to be paid to the partner. So, you can't set off these two. So, here the journal entry is this one. Amit's loan debtor to cash or bank, you will pay off 50,000. Then capital account you will do as usual, balancing figure you will write as to bank and that amount also you will pay off. If there is capital account credit balance, normal question, there is no other change. But in second case we will see Amit's loan amount is same 50 but debit balance is there for rupees 40,000. What do you mean by capital account having a debit balance? Capital account debit balance, where we can see that? It will come on the asset side then. If partner's capital is having a debit balance, that means this would appear on the asset side. That's why it is having a debit balance. It is receivable for the firm. Whereas this loan of 50 is something which we have to pay him, 40 is something which we have to get from Amit, from the same partner. Can we set off these two? Yes. So, in effect, we need to pay only the balance. Actually, we have to pay him 50, but since we have to get 40 from him, finally, as a result, you need to pay him only the balance 10,000. So, we will see how to write the journal entry for that. Amit's loan account debtor, that's what we are settling. So, that should be debited, just like previous entry, 50,000. How we are going to settle this? For that, you will use what? Amit's capital account balance. The debit balance means it is something which we have to get. So, since we are using that debit balance, it must be credited. It must be given the opposite aspect. So, we are using that 40 and in effect, you need to pay only the balance 10,000. So, to bank, you need to pay only 10,000 because 40 we will get from Amit, 50 is total what we have to give him. In effect, you can cancel these two. Cancelling means loan account will be debited because it is a liability. So, cancelling opposite aspect. Amit's capital having a debit balance, when you cancel, it must be given the credit aspect. Balance will pay. The third situation, that is 50,000 is Amit's loan. Balance in his capital account, again that is debit balance, it is 60,000. So we will see the entry. Amit's loan, actually we have to pay him how much? 50. What we have to get from him? That is capital account debit balance we are cancelling. The amount is 60. Shortage is on the debit side. What should we write there? We have to pay him only 50 and we are getting, or we have to get altogether 60. These two can be cancelled and you have to get 10,000 more. Is it 60,000 the capital amount? Yes. So the balance 10,000 we have to receive from Amit. So what you have to study from this portion is, if you have a debit balance, in case you have a debit balance for partner's capital account, you should try to, and at the same time you have a loan account in the question, you should adjust these two items. Otherwise there is no change, you have to just settle it. As usual you write Amit's loan debtor to Cashier Bank. If you have these two, you must set off like this. Shortage on credit side, then you write to bank. If shortage on debit side, you write bank account debtor. That figure you write, shorter side you write bank, either on debit or on credit. You understood? This is how you have to set off loan and partner's debit balance in capital account. So these are the portions which you need to learn from this chapter. Chapter is over now. There is one more portion in this chapter, that is memorandum balance sheet, which they have deleted this year. So you can see that in your textbook, but you need not learn that. Memorandum balance sheet is not there this year. So only comprehensive questions, till there only you need to learn. So chapter is over now.